Hey everyone, welcome to In the Abyss. I am Rob, and it is 2003. And this stack of movies is much better than 2002. Not only are the two finalists really two great movies, but there are some really good, fun, interesting movies in this pile. So I'm looking forward to getting into them. A couple I've talked about in class through the years, telling people you got to watch this, got to check it out. So it's pretty cool. A couple I'm not going to mention, and it is what it is because we know them, and it's pretty much Elf and Daddy Daycare. We know these movies, we love them, they're funny for what they are. And I think through the years, the movies that my kids love, they've kind of taken them and put them in their own stash. So for me to even try to find those two movies to show you would have taken more time than is needed because once again, everybody knows them, everybody loves them. They're must watches, especially Elf and the comedy and all of that stuff is just really strong. But we are going to start with a movie that is kid driven, and that is Jack Black and School of Rock. We've talked numerous times about if you have good natural kids in a kid movie, it really can drive. And the kids do a phenomenal job. A few of them are able to play their own instruments. Jack Black, to me, is his best at this. And what's cool about Jack Black, I'm not a huge fan of his, but he just, in real life, loves music. He's a rock and roll fan. I've seen him at concerts before. And when he's able to put that into a movie like that, he's perfect for this. I don't know if anybody else could have done this role. And the way he uses the kids and the way they use him is phenomenal. And it's still, the other day it was on, I just stopped and watched some of it. And at times the way he deals with the kids and stuff like that makes me giggle. So a good start to 2003. The next comedy I'm going to show you is actually a remake. Michael Douglas, Albert Brooks, Ryan Reynolds, The In-Laws, Candice Bergen. This is a remake from an older movie which I have on Criterion with Alan Arkin and Peter Falk. What I like about it is the original's the must watch, right? If you're going to watch one of them, that's the must watch. But this is a modern version, and it's a little bit different than the original. So once again, things that we've talked about, sometimes when you get remakes, they're kind of remakes of the original. Sometimes when you get remakes like this, it has a taste of the original, but it has its own unique flavor. And that's where I can enjoy it because a lot of times I'm not, as I've said, a fan of remakes. So, and of course, you guys know I'm a Michael Douglas fan. We talked about Ryan Reynolds with Van Wilder, and he does a good job of his son, as his son, Michael Douglas' son. And it makes for a pretty fun action-adventure comedy. Next up in our comedies is one of the most vulgar comedies of all time, and that's Bad Santa. This version, of course, is Badder Santa. And, this is Billy Bob Thornton at his best. He is terrific. And they tried to, once again, try to do that remake of Bad News Bears and try to take him how he is here and deal with this. It just didn't work for two reasons. Number one, we already know Bad News Bears, right? And the original was done and it was great. And the kids were not as good as the original kids of Bad News Bears. But in this, the kid and the way he uses the kid is phenomenal. It's funny as hell. And I think this is the go-to Christmas movie for me when we first get to Christmas season. There's tons of Christmas movies I love. We've talked about Surviving Christmas before in class and stuff like that, which I absolutely love. But Bad Santa is the one that I start the season off with because I want a good laugh and chuckle. And Billy Bob's off the charts in this. The last of our comedies, I actually have two more. Old school, Vince Vaughn, Luke Wilson, and of course Will Ferrell. And I've always said, people always say, do you like Will Ferrell? Will Ferrell's fine. I just like him better as a supporting actor than a lead actor. When he has a good cast around him, he is funnier. And this is one of those movies where him with Luke Wilson and Vince Vaughn makes him funnier. I mean, the scene where they go streaking, and he's there with Snoop Dogg. Hey, Snoop, we're going streaking, and it's great, and the earmuffs and all of that kind of stuff. It makes for a pretty good comedy, along with all the goofy, nerdy kids that they put around him. And like I said, it's pretty funny. We all know this one, and we all like it. We all think it's funny. It's pretty good. The Last Comedy is another one we've all seen that we like a lot. Not quite Liar Liar, Bruce Almighty. Jim Carrey. But to me, this is the movie that really takes Steve Carell and puts him into stardom. Those scenes where he's supposed to be working his mouth and stuff like that, and the way that Steve Carell mimics that and does that is hysterical. And like I said, it catapulted him into a different league of movies and stuff like that. And they actually even did a remake called Evan Almighty with Steve Carell, being the lead. Not quite as funny as this, but I mean, this is great. We talk about Jennifer Aniston a lot. She is very consistently good in this. So with her and him and then Steve Carell, it makes for a really fun, enjoyable comedy. And then, of course, Morgan Freeman as God. How can we not forget that, right? And what's funny is that he talked about that in an interview, that he had played so many roles. He was actually like to a point of what's left. And what's left was, I need to play God. And he liked the idea of doing it in a comedy because he is seriously God, and then the comedy happens around him. And so he thought it was perfect for him to do that, and he was perfect in it. All right, changing up a little bit here. Johnny Depp, Antonio Banderas, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. It is the sequel to Desperado. I love Desperado. I like this movie a lot better. I like the little tidbits, right? Like Johnny Depp is an FBI agent, and when they got to filming the movie, they didn't really know what to have him wear as an undercover cop, if you will. So they went to this little market in Mexico, and they bought like a stack of t-shirts for $10. So all the different t-shirts you see throughout the movie are the ones that he purchased there in Mexico to use. And there's some funny ones. They're great. There's one where they're sitting at the rodeo or whatever, and the shirt says FBI. I mean, it's just so perfect. Johnny Depp is great. The scene where they remove his eyes is intense and stuff like that, and he does a really good job. Antonio Banderas is consistently great. These movies are right up his alley, and it makes for a great kind of modern day Western feel, and the action is great. The gunfighting and all the little things that they do is really good. I really enjoy this film. All right, another kind of war film here, Gods and Generals, which is about the Civil War. Jeff Daniels, Robert Duvall as General Lee, and we are working in class right now in period pieces. And this is why we do what we do, is the things we're talking about in class, because, it's easy to have an opinion about things or people or a period of time, but to actually understand it and deal with it and live with it and believe in it is our job. And, Robert Duvall is as good as they get, and for him to play Lee is a great cast. In Gettysburg, it's played by Martin Sheen, who's another terrific classic all-time actor, right? So they're taking some of the best actors and putting them in that kind of role, and their job is to do what they do, and that is to really believe in who and what they are and then deal. And me, I love the Civil War. I love this period. I love this movie. It's not as good as Gettysburg. It's not, but it's still a strong piece of history, filmed at battlefields and things like that, and that's where the history is drawn in with the good acting, and it makes for a pretty good war film. All right, I got a couple of John Cusack movies here. I'm not going to go in order with them. First one is Runaway Jury. Dustin Hoffman, Gene Hackman, John Cusack. This is a guy who is trying to rig a jury against a gun manufacturer who's on trial because of a killing with a gun, etc. That's the other thing too. We're in 2020 and we fight these battles about gun control and all these kinds of things. Like, these are new ideas or these are new thoughts. These are battles we've been fighting for our whole life. No matter what side you're on, whether you're for gun control and whether you think that we have the strictest gun rules around, it's always been a battle and always will be a battle. And this movie is kind of about that in a court. And this was made in 2003. So 17 years ago, they're making movies about this stuff. I like the story. It's unique and it's good. And the more I watch it, the more I enjoy it. But for me, Dustin Hoffman, Gene Hackman, come on. Once again, we talk about these actors over and over again. And to me, they are the ones that carry this film. Cusack does a good job. Rachel Weisz does a good job. and they do, you know, like I said, but really it comes down to Hackman and Hoffman. All right, our Denzel for 2003, Out of Time. He's a cop who gets caught up in a situation. I don't want to ruin the movie for you. And, you know, trying to find his way out of it. And it's typical Denzel, right? He's great in it. It's a pretty good movie. The supporting cast is pretty good, but, you know, he's consistently good. And there's enough thriller and action to it to keep you drawn in to make you want to watch it. Once again, you know me. I love Denzel. I'm going to watch it. Anything he's in, I'm going to watch at least once, probably twice to you know, give it that second chance. But you know, this is much better than John Q that we talked about the other day. Not as good as Training Day, but it's still a good movie. And once again, he's consistent in it. All right. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Matthew McConaughey, Kate Hudson. I saw this in the theaters with Amy. We loved it. And I think a lot of why we loved it is their continuity, their chemistry, their energy, and in a pretty good, fun story. And they do a great job. It's about the banter. It's about the playing off each other. It's about the behavior. And, you know, McConaughey sometimes can be really good, and sometimes he can be okay. I think he found his niche in something like this. I mean, we talk about Dazed and Confused and stuff like that, and that's kind of like the ideal role back when he was younger. But then at this point where he's kind of changed the image and how he is portrayed, this is where he to me is really strong, and Kate Hudson does a great job, and it makes for a fun romantic comedy. All right, our other Cusack also stars Amanda Peet and Ray Liotta. I love this movie, Identity. I love it because even at the end when you think you've figured it out, you haven't. There's another twist. I do not, once again, want to ruin this for you because this is a must-watch. But anyways, this is a group of people that end up stuck at this motel together, and they start to find out that they have certain things in common. And they're trying to figure out why all of this is what it is, and it kind of comes together as the movie goes. And once again, I can't give away too much, but it's a must-watch. You know, really good acting, a really cool, unique story, a really good movie. All right, next up is Russell Crowe, Master and Commander. And it's funny because when I started shifting from DVD to Blu-ray, there was a couple things I wanted to do. Number one, I wanted to get movies I didn't own but looked good on Blu-ray, right? And then also, I didn't want to double dip unless it was a must-have, okay? I did not own Master and Commander. I looked up on Google or whatever, best-looking Blu-rays to buy. And I bought Master and Commander, and it is visually stunning, and the story and the wardrobes and the way it is and the way the sounds are and surround sound. This is a great Blu-ray, a great period piece. Once again, we're working on this in class, thinking, speaking, understanding, and dealing in a period of time, and it just makes for a really cool adventure type feel to this movie. And I think Russell Crowe is really strong in it. It's another must-watch. You guys need to check it out. All right. These last two were really tough once again for me, but I went with the one that follows all the criteria, especially the one which one would I watch the most. So our runner-up is Tom Cruise, Ken Watanabe in The Last Samurai. This is another must-watch. Cruise does a great job. Watanabe does a great job. It is shot, once again, beautifully. I talked about it in my epics. The fighting, the action, the thrilling parts to it. I mean, it's so amazing. And once again, it's another period piece, right? The clothing they wear, the areas they're at, the way they live, and you have to understand and deal. And it just, to me, is a really powerful, powerful film. And I love it. I could watch it over and over again. And once again, why didn't this come out in 2002 and be an easy dub, right? Or another year? It just didn't. So it loses out really, really closely to Pirates of the Caribbean. And this is just a perfect film. It's casted well from Johnny Depp and Jeffrey Rush and even Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley, all of them. It's shot gorgeous. The scenery and you know, the ships and all of that stuff. The soundtrack is unbelievable. And then of course the storyline. What a unique story about the Aztec gold and the curse and the whole 9 yards. It's one of those ones you walk out of the movie going, wow, that was a great film, and then you got to watch it again to figure out what you missed because you have to go through it a few times. And once again, this movie never gets old, right? As much as I love The Last Samurai, once in a while, because it's long and the way it is, you know, sometimes you have to be in a mood for that. But for this one, it doesn't matter what the mood is because it has a little twist of comedy and it has that action and adventure and that pirate swashbuckling and a unique story. And like I said, the scenery is gorgeous and it just never gets old. And so for 2003, it just made sense that Pirates of the Caribbean is #1. And it really only by title is about the ride. There's a little bit, a couple hints here and there of the ride, but for the most part, it's a unique story. And I think we've all seen it, but we all would agree it's probably on the top of most lists for 2003. On the music side, I'm going to go quick, just a couple. I want to show you something pretty cool. Stradivarius, Elements Part 1, and then Elements Part 2. And what's cool about this is that Elements 1 came out in January, and then they dropped Elements 2 in November. So you had pretty much the year to, you know, really listen to this one, and then Elements 2 to take in, you know, the second part afterwards. And, you know, it's really, really good. You know, you have, you know, Eagle Heart, Soul of a Vagabond on this. You have Alpha and Omega on this, and it talks about the different elements and things like that and how they tie them in. It's pretty cool. And as you see on the covers, once again, the light and the dark, it's pretty cool. And I like originality and creativity, and that's why I point these out to you guys. Killbox 13 by Overkill. It's probably my favorite Overkill album from start to finish. Pretty heavy, pretty fast, really raising the bar. Devil by the Tail to open it up. Damned. It's really good. It ends with I Rise. Unholy's really good. It's a strong album. Once again, probably not your music. If you're a thrash fan, you need to check it out. If you're not, I'm just going over my favorites for 2003. But #1 is a band called Circle to Circle. This is called Watching in Silence. Circle to Circle is the brainchild of Zach Stevens, who was the second singer of Savatage. So now Savatage is done, as we talked about the other day, with their last album, Poets and Madmen. And now a lot of these people are dealing with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and then Zach starts his own band, Circle to Circle. And because of his voice, you get that Savatage feel, but the music's a little unique and different. It kind of goes, it's a little thicker. I wouldn't say heavier, it's just thicker. And it has some really good stuff on here. I remember this came out, I was excited, you know, and I just still listen to this from start to finish and really enjoy it. So if you like rock and roll, a little bit hard rock, maybe a little metal to it, you need to check out Circle to Circle, Watching in Silence. If you can find it, it's really hard to find. A lot of these are out of print, but anyways, they might be on Spotify or whatever you guys listen to. So for 2003, Circle to Circle, and Yo-ho, yo-ho, A Pirate's Life for me. All right, you guys. Thanks for watching. 2004 will be tomorrow. Keep leaving those comments. I'm enjoying them, and we'll see you then.